Welcome to the Talents Bell Show. Hey, leo nimewaita chini ya miti. We must discuss these things. Lazima tuambiane na tuulizane aje. How do we come out of this thing? Pornography. For the last sessions, I've been speaking about pornography. The last session, we realized that pornography and masturbation, WhatsApp group moja. So leo nataka tuulizane. Is it something that we can move out? Is that something that we can overcome? Is it a disease? Okay, the impact of pornography will remain forever. Guys, it will remain forever. It will be there. The marks, the footsteps will look like the Syrians. Njia yenye tunasema ndovu zikipitia. Even 100 years, they can go back. So we must be very keen. And this is the reason as to why the social scientists, sociologists, the psychologists, and every one of us who is concerned about human beings, we have started having a lot of attention on pornography. Being a killer in our generation, and what I always call victimless crime. Although we get some guys who are behind bars because of shooting pornography with young girls and young boys and all these things that are happening in this generation. But I always ask myself, is it something that really human beings must do? And like I said in one of my shows, that there are over 5.4 billion websites that shows pornography. I don't know how many websites that spread the gospel. They might be less than 1 billion. I'm just saying, they might be less than 1 million. But the vibration in these websites should make every human being who is passionate about human beings to have attention and to be concerned about the state of the mind, the state of the physiology, the state of human beings. And this is something that we should look up to. We should look at it as from a perspective of, is it destroying the future? Is it building the future? Where will be our children's children be? If we don't speak out, we are building and we are making something that could be handed to generations. And so we must have an attention and a concern to this thing that is happening in this generation. And so I want to today look at a few things before I tell us what to do so that we may overcome. I want to today look at a few things. And one of them is that it is a reality with pornography. Even as we talk about overcoming, the reality that pornography removes you from reality and your physical sensations. So one of the things that made pornography to be developed and to be edited, the editing and the development, the graphical work that happens when pornographic sites are being developed, when pornographic films are being developed, when all these things are being developed, is number one, to remove you from the reality. And I've heard so many people talk so many things about sex, and anytime I have met with sexual addicts, I've realized over people who have moved from their reality. Someone who doesn't have self-control, someone who doesn't have boundaries, someone who doesn't have limits. They move from their reality of life. And their physical sensations also changes. And the physical sensation will change that because your mind, men are thought beings. As a man and a woman thinketh, as a boy and a girl thinketh, so is them. And so what is changing is you come out of your reality. You start operating in an unrealistic perspective, unrealistic paths. And because your view and your perception towards the other sexual being, or even the same sexual being, is unrealistic, you view them as objects to be used. It is like you're barbering for an opportunity to get sex from any person. You don't have personal values. Your value systems are destroyed. You don't have any consciousness. You are always full of guilt. You are always full of emptiness. You are always looking for an opportunity to get satisfaction. For it doesn't matter where the satisfaction will happen. And this is why today we have a development of what they are calling quickies. Quickies, can tell you who they are. And so what happens is your brain starts changing from receiving stimulus in a normal way. And they are only triggered by a few things. And the trigger happens to your body. So the sensation, your physical sensation, starts changing because you are bending the principles that control your brain. You are bending the principles that make your thought lines go in a specific way. And so basically, you start now moving from that realistic point of view. You're not real with even yourself. You don't even understand yourself. You don't even understand, is this a natural urge or is it an unrealistic urge? So you start losing the realistic portion and part of life, your realistic aspect of life, and you lose your sensation. Because your brains and the stimulus that you have, the stimulus are not leading the patterns that are supposed to come from your brain and from your thought line. And this one has a side effect leading to ED, the erectile dysfunction. So the way your brain picks information, the way your brain perceives information, if it communicates unrealistic perspectives. And you see also, much of what happens in pornography and masturbation is a physical touch and all that. The physical touching changes your aspect because it was not created for you. That's why masturbation is simply self-harm. It was not created. Your organs were not created for you. They were created for someone else at a specific point, like in marriage. And so you start having erectile dysfunction, and this one is a major disease during our times. It's a major disorder during our times, and it's because basically the person is leading different patterns of the brain. The body is not connected. In a natural way, the sensations are supposed to come from the brain, not triggered by any other outward aspect. That's how we were created. But now the problem is that we are losing it. We are losing the game. And basically we are losing the game, and all these side effects are coming to us. I also say that pornography addiction is similar to other harmful addictions. People think that pornography is not as harmful as taking cocaine, because cocaine will have side effects on the organs, will have side effects on the liver and all that. But pornography is such an impactful addiction like any other. It acts, destroys the patterns and the thinking of your brain, destroys the way you act, the way you do things. And when this is being destroyed, what is basically happening, the impact is the same as the impact of cocaine. And that is why we basically, when we're talking about pornography, we use cocaine. Because the same sensations, the same stimulations that cocaine does to the brain is the same things that happens when pornography is watched. So it is similar to any other addiction. And in fact, like someone is saying, tell them that it is the worst addiction. Where is it? It is the worst addiction in the world. Because it also brings consumption to both physical and emotional effects. Physical and emotional effects. So we have a generation that is coming up that has a lot of mood swings, a lot of impact on their moods. Their moods are not stable. Their physical happenings are not stable. You might be looking at an individual thinking they are listening to you, but they are not listening. Their world, they live in a world that is not in this world. Their world is the world of fantasy because they have consumed a lot of pornography. They have consumed a lot of nudity. And even when you're studying there, maybe they have a role play that is making their body to be present, but their emotions and their mind are very far, doing some funny things. And so, when we talk about overcoming, we must have to understand those three things. That this addiction is just like any other. There's no difference. And when we're doing short courses on understanding addictions, this will be part of our attention. We must look into it as a drag of our day, as a drag in the sex stuff. And when you talk about sexual evolution, we cannot fail to mention pornography because pornography is the drive. I see things happening today and a lot of people dancing in church. It is changing. And you see an impact of sex dances. Moves have changed. The way we talk, it is changing. Every connotation that we're talking about, including changing beans, a very good bean, it means something in sex. Because our coding, it is driven by the pornographic aspect. And pornography is the drive in our days when there is a sex revolution. I'll be sharing a bit of what to do to overcome in my next session after the break. But I want to challenge each and every person. You need to look at yourself from an aspect of understanding. What is it that is happening in your life? Do you feel so fixed to pornography? Do you feel like you need to know the next thing from pornography? Is pornography offering you the solutions and the tips to what you are doing? Are you in marriage and still hooked up in pornography? And like I have always said, when it comes to the science of addiction, you are hooked, hacked, and then hijacked. So it starts by hooking. You see one creep takes you to two takes you to fantasy. Fantasy is being hijacked. So you get being hacked. So you get your time hacked to pornography. The time you're supposed to be doing mathematics, the time you're supposed to be reading the Bible, the time you are supposed to be practicing, you are hacked. You have shared it with pornography. And then you are totally hijacked. You are no longer becoming the person you are born to be. You are no longer becoming the Christian, the good Christian that you are supposed to be. You are no longer becoming the good student that you are supposed to be. What has happened? You started by being hooked up, maybe through friends, your cousins, your close people. They hooked you up with a simple creep. The creep hacked you. And you start giving your time to it. And then you're hijacked, you are off. And that is why we are talking about pornography, making so many people to cry. And it is a victimless crime. It doesn't seem like there is a victim. And even people walking, wearing all these good clothes and all that, they seem like, oh, this guy is doing well. Until you sit with them and realize their emotions are not having a balance. So let's come back after the short break and we look at how do we overcome this addiction. May God bless you. Sit there, continue asking questions, continue commenting, continue sending your views to Mamlaka TV, continue liking and subscribing to Mr. Talanta Africa. Remember, this is your show. It is real, relevant, and relational.